Social Security, Medicare, how would you manage the entitlements?
We say the rules have changed. We changed retirement age to reflect life expectancy. What we do know is 65 is way too low, and we need to increase that.
Haley's plan cuts Social Security benefits for 82% of Americans. Trump will never let that happen.
I'm Donald J. Trump, and I approve this message.
So Trump is going back to his greatest hits. He's presenting himself as the populist who cares about the well-being and financial security of Americans. I think that while, of course, people who pay very close attention to politics and what he had proposed as part of the White House budget as president, you'd be very suspicious and you would find his ad very suspect because he's not really a warrior for protecting Social Security. But most people don't know those details. They're not in the nitty-gritty of political budget proposals and things like that. And so I do think that this is the type of ad that is going to resonate with the American people. I think it's an effective one to say the least, but it might be a bit of a waste, Rayyvana, because when you think about it, even though Nikki Haley's surging in the polls, Trump still has a massive lead over her.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point about the way that people are going to interpret what Trump says versus having to actually show them his record of his behavior when it comes to these entitlement programs and his routine attempts at slashing Social Security. That really doesn't matter to his base the same way that him saying he's going to protect it does, because to those people, as we've learned time and time again, facts don't matter. I do think it's fascinating to see that Social Security continues to endure as the third rail of American politics. You can't even say that you're thinking of potentially raising the Social Security age, the retirement age, or reducing benefits. And Nikki Haley, in her talking about doing this, one, she cites to the increase in lifespan of people in America, which is an argument that is predicated on the listener not looking into it, because it's not as though people are retiring and then living much longer lives at that age than they previously did. The average lifespan has increased because we've decreased child mortality rates and infant mortality rates in this country versus, when Social Security was first enacted. But people are not, again, we're not living to be 120 years old. On that side of things, it hasn't changed much. And people still want to be able to retire with dignity, age with dignity. And anything that threatens that, it's Social Security and Medicare as well are our two most popular government programs time and time again, because they are so utilized by that age group, and those people vote. And those people tend to vote Republican. And Nikki Haley made a huge blunder when she came after Social Security, one that Donald Trump's team is not going to let him, miss the opportunity to attack her for.
Nor should they. It's a potent political topic, and he's using this as a tool to bludgeon her with, politically, of course. But the thing, you never know with Trump. But the thing with you said so many things that made me want to comment, but I'll just specifically comment on the instability that I would argue older American workers already feel, knowing that at any given moment their employer can get rid of them. And once look, it's a fact of life and I hate it. It's gross, but age discrimination in the workplace absolutely is a thing. And it's hard to prove, which is why there's so little protection for Americans who are victimized by it. But if the rug is pulled out from underneath you and you're in your 50s, it is incredibly difficult to find another job. And so increasing the retirement age to something even higher, I think is deeply unfair, especially given how hard people work and how much they've paid into that system. And then the other thing I'll just say is, for the young people watching the show, if you've bought into the notion that you should wait till you retire to travel, I feel like that was kind of like an old school mindset, like, I'm gonna retire and I'm gonna see the world. Please don't do that. Please take, if you're lucky enough to have it, your PTO every year and go see the world when you're young. And don't wait until your retirement age, because who knows what your retirement age is gonna be? Who knows what this government's gonna do to it? But more importantly, you wanna be healthy and you wanna be able to get around easily. So don't don't buy into, I'm just gonna save and not take my PTO. Take your PTO, you've earned it. Now, let's get back to Trump though, because he loves to brag about how he's a warrior for Social Security, how he's gonna protect these government programs because they're incredibly popular and he understands messaging. But remember, when Trump was president, every one of his White House budget proposals included cuts to Social Security and Medicare programs. And you do not have to, believe me, you can look at the budgets that he proposed. And more importantly, you should never take any politician's word for it, especially someone like Trump. And while he proposed cutting Social Security and Medicare, here's what he's been telling supporters at some of his more recent campaign rallies.
You don't want politicians like Ron and Nikki who both want to gut Social Security and Medicare and hurt our seniors. And if you look at it, Ron voted 3 times to raise the retirement age on Social Security to over 70. And Nikki would take the retirement age to way, way higher than even the number that Ron is talking about. I don't know why they want to do that. And unlike Ron DeSanctimonious, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare for our great seniors. He wanted to knock the hell out of Social Security and Medicare. You don't want politicians who want to gut Social Security and Medicare like both of them.
And look, Nikki Haley seems to be one of the smarter GOP candidates in this primary, to be honest with you. And given the fact that Trump has been attacking her on Social Security, you would think she'd be smart enough to not give the kind of answer she gave last night during CNN's GOP primary debate. The topic of Social Security came up, and here's what she had to say.
What I'll tell you we have to do is we have to keep our promises to seniors, but we also can't put our head in the sand. For those like Ron saying they're not going to touch Social Security, that means they're going to leave after 4 or 8 years and leave it bankrupt? No. What we do is we go to those in their 20s and say we're going to change the retirement age to reflect life expectancy. Instead of cost of living increases, we do increases based on inflation. We limit benefits on the wealthy.
Thank you, Governor.
And we expand Medicare Advantage plans, which seniors love.
Should voters in their 20s plan on having to work until they're 70?
They should plan on their retirement age being increased, yes.
I mean, wow. You just give Trump a massive gift. This is knowing that a 2023 Data for Progress survey showed that 82% of all likely voters somewhat or strongly oppose policies that would mean Americans currently under 50 would receive fewer Social Security benefits when they retire than those who receive Social Security benefits today. They also found that 72% of respondents, including 76% of Democrats, 66% of Republicans, and 72% of independents or third-party voters are less likely to vote for a candidate who supported cutting future Social Security benefits for Americans currently under 50. And look, Data for Progress is a more progressive polling outlet. But if you want something that does not have a political bent, YouGov found that about 9 in 10 Americans who personally receive Social Security benefits have a very or somewhat favorable opinion of that program. As you mentioned earlier, Rayyvana, it is deeply, deeply popular. And it's amazing to me that Nikki Haley's like, yeah, you should expect things to change, okay? Like, all right, cool. I mean, you're surging a little bit in the polling, not enough to begin with, but I don't know how that's gonna play for her now.
It is fascinating to see the messaging about Social Security because they always have to code it, right? Seniors, don't worry, we're not gonna screw you over. We're just targeting voters in their 20s who are lower propensity voters and people less likely to vote Republican anyway. But it never works. It's a messaging campaign that never works because as soon as you talk about cutting Social Security, the seniors' ears perk up, and it doesn't matter if you tell them you're not going to target them. They know that you're coming after Social Security, and they're smart enough to know that that also includes them, no matter how many times you try to lie about who it's going to attack. But as a young person who she was apparently just speaking to, I also don't want to have to work until the day I die. I don't want, people in my generation to die working on the assembly line or die sitting in their desk chairs in an office. And it's an absurd requirement to expect from us that we just have to work and work and work because we're not living, like I said earlier, we're not living significantly longer in old age. And, unless Jared Kushner's comment about that his generation is going to be the last to ever die comes to fruition, in which case, if it does, then we can talk about raising the retirement age if we're all living forever. But until that day comes, I also would like to age with dignity, retire with dignity, and not be left like how we treated seniors before Social Security, where they had such a high percentage of them living in poverty. It was inhumane. And
Totally.
we can't just turn back time and force people to work literally until they're dying.
Thanks for watching. If you become a member, you get to watch all this ad-free, except for, of course, this ad. Still, hit the join button below.